Hello again, this is Dr. Michael Bogart. I'm welcoming you back again to our video series, Exploring World Religions. This is the 12th in the series of videos, and we're looking at Judaism. In clips 1 and 2, we looked at what Judaism is and then how it developed. In this clip, we'll be discussing some of the main beliefs, practices, and traditions of Jews today. Okay, so what do Jews believe? I need to emphasize something here, especially for people of a Christian background. Christians emphasize core beliefs which result in actions. On the other hand, Jews emphasize actions as a way of honoring God. They're two sides of a coin, really. As far as core Jewish beliefs are concerned, we now have to turn to one of the great medieval scholars of Judaism, a rabbi named Moses ben Maimon, or also known as Maimonides, also known as Rambam. Maimonides was born in Spain and lived from about 1130 to 1204. He wrote works of philosophy, and some of the great philosophers of the Middle Ages interacted with his works, such as Thomas Aquinas and the Muslim philosopher Averroes. Maimonides even served for a time as the physician to the great Muslim leader Salah ad-Din. Among the many contributions of Maimonides was the synthesis of 13 principles of belief still affirmed by Orthodox Jews and others. Now, as a Christian, I always like to compare these principles with the doctrines that Christians believe. So let's see how many points of agreement we can find. Number 1, God exists. Number 2, God is one. This principle is grounded in the great Shema of Deuteronomy 6. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Number 3, God is spirit. Number 4, God is eternal. Number 5, God hears prayer. Number 6, God sent prophets. Okay, so far, 6 out of 6 with Christianity. But 7, Moses is the chief prophet. Now, Christians would say that the prophets have been superseded by Jesus the Messiah. 8, God inspired the Torah. 9, Torah never superseded. 10, God knows human thoughts. 11, God rewards and punishes. 12, Messiah is yet to come. And 13, the dead will be resurrected. So, of course, there would be disagreement with Christianity on 3 of those final principles. But hey, 9 out of 13 overall is pretty amazing. And it does demonstrate the close relationship of these two religious groups, Judaism and Christianity. So Maimonides died and was buried in the place that so many Jews longed to end their days in, the land of Israel. Now, I probably should mention Kabbalah. Though it doesn't play a central role in Jewish practice, it's something that many 21st century people do find interesting. Kabbalah is Jewish mysticism, sometimes with occultic undertones. The most famous aspect of Kabbalah is finding hidden meanings in the text of the Torah, possibly through the combinations of numbers. Though founded in Spain in the Middle Ages, in the 1700s, Kabbalah took root in Eastern Europe, and now it has become popular among Westerners and even among some celebrities. I should also mention Hasidism, founded by Israel ben Eliezer, also in the 1700s, but this time in Poland. The point of Hasidism is that doing Torah is not enough. People must experience communion with God and love Him deeply as well. So Hasidic Jews emphasize emotion and spontaneous love for God and the good things of life, as opposed to what they see as rote observance among other sects of Orthodox Judaism. By the way, the Hasidic Jews are the ones with the curlicues, the ringlets, the side locks. Times and culture do have their effect on religion. The Enlightenment of the 1700s, which openly questioned the supernatural and traditional religious authorities, affected Judaism just as it did Christianity and the whole of Western culture. We're still seeing the effects of it today. It caused a splintering of the main body of European and American Jews into 3 main groups. First are the Orthodox. Orthodox Judaism continues the centuries-long traditions of the Talmud unchanged by the Enlightenment. Then there are Reform Jews. Reform Judaism embraces the spirit of the Enlightenment and denies the final authority of the Talmud. It tries to adapt Judaism to the modern world. Haskalah is the term for enlightened but non-religious Jews, people who don't really practice Judaism much at all. and they completely accommodate to Western modern culture. Conservative Judaism is a sort of compromise between the Orthodox and the Reform. There are other smaller groups as well. Now, Zionism is a political and cultural movement among Jews that sought the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Israel. Zionism really began in its modern form in the late 1800s with Theodor Herzl, Chaim Weizmann, and David Ben-Gurion. It culminated in the establishment of the State of Israel in May of 1948. Okay, let's move on to Jewish religious observance. Of course, the Sabbath is central to Jewish life. As I mentioned in clip 1, the Sabbath begins at sundown on Friday and lasts until sundown on Saturday. Jews are commanded not to do any work on the Sabbath. Jews are also famous for their distinctive dietary laws, called the laws of kashrut, or commonly known as the kosher laws. Only certain meats can be eaten, like beef and lamb. Meats must have come from animals that have both cloven hooves and chew cud, or from birds that are not birds of prey, or from fish that have both fins and scales. That means that pork is out, as is any type of shellfish, shrimp, clams, oyster, lobsters, etc. These foods are explicitly forbidden in the Torah. Now, when posed with the question of why, there are a couple of main answers. One answer is that these animals are scavengers. By the way, birds and animals of prey are also forbidden, so their meat may be tainted in the wild. Another answer is much simpler. Jews will say they're forbidden because God said so, period. Also, meat and milk products cannot be mixed in the same meal, and cooking utensils must be devoted either to milk or to meat use. The reasons for this rule are a little bit less straightforward. These rules were developed from 3 verses in Exodus and Deuteronomy, all of which say, "You shall not cook a kid," or that means a young goat, "in its mother's milk." But why? No explanation of this threefold repetition of the commandment is given. Just don't do it. Rabbis have debated this issue and seem to have decided to err on the side of safety. Forget the goats. Let's not eat any meat with any milk ever. So no cheeseburgers, no chicken enchiladas, no meat lasagna. Of course, there are many other rules for daily meals and their preparation, as well as special rules for Passover. And for the most part, Jews abide by these rules. Another distinctive practice is that all Jewish males must be circumcised on the 8th day after birth as a sign of the covenant relationship with God. Then, at the age of 13 or so, there's a bar mitzvah process that confirms that covenant personally in the life of a Jewish male. Reformed Jews also do that for girls in the form of a bat mitzvah. The synagogue is an assembly building where Jews meet to worship and congregate, and of course, as I've said, rabbis are the congregational leaders. Jews have their own particular festivals, including Rosh Hashanah in September. Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, follows close behind Rosh Hashanah. And Sukkot, commemorating God's provision for Israel in the wilderness after their exodus out of Egypt, comes along in October, November, sometime right in there. The Jewish calendar is a little different than our Western Gregorian calendar. And by the way, Sukkot is what the Puritans of New England used as the basis for our American and Canadian Thanksgiving feast. Then there's Hanukkah, the Feast of Lights, commemorating the purification of the Second Temple under the Maccabees, a century and a half or so before Jesus' time. Purim remembers Esther's salvation of the Jews from Persian genocide, and Purim happens around February. Of course, there's Passover in March or April, which remembers Israel's exodus out of Egypt. And finally, the Jews celebrate Shavuot, also called Pentecost. Pentecost is also a Christian celebration for slightly different reasons. Pentecost occurs in early summer and celebrates the anniversary, for Jews at least, of the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. For Christians, it commemorates the beginning of the church. Okay, so much for clip 3 in this 12th video within Exploring World Religions. Obviously, I've just scratched the surface here, but I hope that this has given you a big picture view of Judaism. In Series 13, we'll take a quick look at Jesus and early Christianity, and it'll kind of flow right out of our study of Judaism. Till then, this is Dr. Michael Bogart. We'll see you then.